Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me today on the My Bourbon Journey Whiskey Review channel. So today we're going to start a little bit of a new series, or start it back up, which I'm going to call a sample spotlight review. And what it is we in the WhiskeyTube community are, we get a lot of samples and things sent to us, and what I really want to try to do is, spotlight some of the people that are nice enough to share some of these samples of special whiskeys with us today. And today's sample spotlight review is going to go to great guy Young Pei Chang for sending me again a couple samples of the Stagg Jr batch 15, which I'll be doing a review of today. So just one of those things where I wasn't able to get a bottle of this, but Young was nice enough to send me a couple of samples in order to try it and do a review. And I thank him very much for sending these samples to me for me to have the opportunity to review. So again, this is going to be a sample spotlight review. So, all right, let's get into a little bit of the details on this. So again, this is Stagg Jr batch 15. Not something we get in my area very often. They come and go very quickly, if at all. And it's just not something that I'm really able to get my hands on. And fortunately, Young sent me a sample of this. So what is this? Again, Stagg Jr batch 15, one of the big boys, that a lot of people who are familiar with Stagg Jr, it's tried and true. The last few releases over the past couple of years have really been, nice. They will change, or they are a little bit different from, batch to batch. But at the end of the day, they're always something that people seek out, and something that's a very good barrel strength bourbon. So this one specifically, again, batch 15, comes in at 131.1 proof, or a whopping 65.55% ABV. Mashbill on this, so this is Buffalo Trace's Mashbill #1. So we know it's going to be on the lower end of the rye scale. So more than likely less than 10% rye in this one. So more than likely it's probably going to be in that higher corn, low rye, still low malted barley as well. It is non-age stated, but most of these are thought to be in that 8-year-ish range. Again, the big boy George T. Stagg a lot of times is in that 15-year plus range. So this is just a little step down from that as well. So MSRP on this one, I mean, I'll say 60 or 65 bucks. If you're able to find it at MSRP for that price, it's a steal. Secondary prices will be at times, 3 times that. So it could be upwards of 150, maybe around that $200 type of price range. So it gets a little bit crazy from that standpoint. So with that being said, and then one other thing I wanted to say. So Jason from the Mash and Drum, you all know the kind of videos he does. He provided some really in-depth information as to who George T. Stagg was. So I'll have linked in the description below to that video in the event that you've missed it and you want to know a little bit more about George T. Stagg. He did a really nice job with that. So, all right, let's go ahead and we'll get into the review. Color-wise, you can see, I mean, this is a nice, rich mahogany, deep copper. I mean, there's a very reddish kind of hue to it, very heavy, like kind of copper penny color on that. So, and again, with these, I love to let them open up. I know when Young sent me this, he had said this bottle had been open for a little while. So it has had a chance to get some air to it, which I think is very important to let a lot of these higher proof bourbons or whiskeys, kind of open up a little bit. A lot of that air tends to really do, do some justice to these things. So, all right, let's get into the nose. Oh man, it's just always a great whiskey. They'll be slightly different, but with this one right away, there's just this nice rich, if you can think of a like fresh melted caramel, it's like that right in your face, like right away. But be careful. I mean, there's some ethanol that comes, and again, that's one of the other important things about letting these things open up. Let some of that, alcohol dissipate out of the glass a little bit. Oh man, great baking spice on this. Definitely, there's a little bit of heat that's still there, and this has probably been in the glass for maybe 15 minutes, opening up a little bit before I did the review. Like a nice fudge brownie aspect. Dark fruits. There's just that typical cherry note that you get from a Stagg Jr. Like a rich vanilla custard aspect to it. And I even get a little bit of like a citrus note on this one. Again, sometimes I'll get that on some of the Buffalo Trace, not always some of the Stagg, but this one is a little bit more of a citrus note that's there. Nice kind of toffees. Deep brown sugar. Really nice sweet oak. There's definitely some oak presence to this. A little bit of like a slate, like cornbread aspect that's there on it as well. Nice leather. Really nice nose. I mean, it's just deep, rich, lets you know it's one of the big boys. I mean, it's always kind of tried and true. It's one of those things I look forward to each time I'm able to, whether I get a bottle or a sample. I'm always looking forward to trying a new Stagg release. So, all right. More importantly, let's see how this one tastes. Cheers. So 131 proof. I'm going to let the palate kind of acclimate here just a little bit. You just can't rush into these things. If you try to judge off of that first sip, especially with this, it's kind of doing the whiskey an injustice. You've got to let this thing kind of develop, get on the palate, let it kind of start to do its magic, and it'll really start to shine for you. First off, fantastic mouthfeel, coats the entire mouth. With that heat or with that proof that's there, you almost start to get a little bit of a numbing effect. I mean, it coats the mouth really, really well. Nice and creamy. Nice sweet oaks for me, like right away. That's one of the things that I notice. Nice spice to it that's there. Could be a little bit more of the oak or that oak char influence on this one. Again, that citrus note, a little bit more of like an orange type of citrus note that's there on this one. It's very bright. I mean, it coats the mouth really, really well. Those flavors are exploding in your mouth. It's one of those things where you definitely want to take your time with this one, not only from the proof standpoint, but just in terms of what this has to offer, that you don't want to really rush it. The more you start to sip on it, it'll change, it'll evolve a little bit on you. So all those vanilla custards that are there. Slight dryness, a little bit of like a leather note, but sweet. There's still always that lingering sweetness, like maybe a brown sugar aspect that's there. Nice chocolate. This is more of like a deep, like rich, dark chocolate that's there. I mean, it's very thick, heavy, those dark fruits, that nice cherry influence that's there. Still some other things like a raspberry type of note. Very fresh. Baking spice, absolutely fantastic on this one. And again, the baking spice kind of plays into that sweet oak aspect that's there as well. Just take your time with this. I mean, this will be one of those things where these flavors will begin to kind of really evolve and change on you as your palate acclimates to what it is that's going on. It's definitely going to change for you for sure. I'd say with this, there's more of that. In addition to the dark chocolate, you get some kind of like nice, coffee or espresso type of notes. There's just this richness that's there to it. Heavy dark fruits on this one, specifically the cherry, more of like a Luxardo cherry. So you've got that quality type of cherry note. And again, I don't have a lot to reference this back to some of the prior batches. I really haven't had a chance to get my hands on, you know, many of the other prior releases. But I would say with this one, in just knowing what some of the other ones had to offer, this is a really, really nice, you know, bourbon. And again, at the MSRP of around that 60, 65 bucks, it's a steal. I mean, if you can find it for that, great. You know, a lot of people can't. They have to go to secondary. You know, it's probably still worth those kinds of prices just in terms of what it has to offer, but fantastic whiskey. Yeah, that like rich, it's like a rich, sweet pipe tobacco, leathers, dark fruits, caramels, a little bit of like an orange citrus that's there to it. Nice sweet oak, great spice that's on this. Love the oak, love the spice. Very kind of typical of the stags, you know, and again, like I said before, they will vary from batch to batch, but so far from what I'm tasting here, you know, subjectively, I think it's an incredible, you know, bourbon. So it just coats the mouth great mouth feel, just tons of flavors, ever evolving. You know, if you transition over to the finish is long. Again, that sweet oak, great spice, a little bit of orange citrus that's there. Caramels, vanillas. It's everything that you want in a bourbon. So, you know, what I would say is, I mean, obviously, if you can find this, buy it. I mean, my recommendation would be simply buy it. It's really that good of a bourbon, and I think people will really, really be happy with this one. So I love the sweet tobacco there a little bit on it. It just continues to change. I'm sure once I'm done with this, you know, with the recording, there may be something else that pops up. A little bit of that cornbread aspect to it. Again, it's just always, you know, changing there. So there you have it. Batch 15 Stagg Jr. If you can find it, buy it. Especially at MSRP, it's a no-brainer at all. So with that being said, I would love to hear your feedback on the Stagg Jr. Batch 15. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like it? Did it miss for you? Is it better, worse than some of the other batches? Love to hear everyone's feedback on these particular bourbons. So with that being said, again, thank you so much for tuning in to another one of my reviews. Greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me, you can on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of those places at My Bourbon Journey. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can through my Patreon page, which I'll have linked in the description below. Also have some merch. I can have that linked in the description below as well. But again, thank you so much for tuning into another one of my reviews. And remember, it's about the journey and not the destination. Cheers.